Karoline Leavitt has never been one to shy away from controversy, but her latest comments about Canadians have sparked an uproar that has people on both sides of the border buzzing. And today we're diving deep into what she said, why it's being called disrespectful, and how former Bank of Canada governor and highly respected global figure Mark Carney fired back with a response that not only defended Canadians but also showcased exactly why leaders need to think twice before making sweeping generalizations. So let's break this down, because it's not just about one politician making a comment. It's about what happens when words travel far beyond their intended audience, creating ripples across communities, politics, and international relationships. Now, the whole drama started when Leavitt, during an interview, decided to take aim at Canada in what seemed like a throwaway comment. But the tone and the phrasing made it clear she wasn't offering constructive criticism, she was throwing shade. And that didn't sit well with many Canadians who pride themselves on their identity, their values, and the way they're perceived globally. Because whether you agree with Canada's politics or not, dismissing an entire country and its people as weak or irrelevant comes across as not only insulting but also short-sighted, and immediately social media lit up with clips of her remarks circulating on TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, where users expressed shock, disappointment, and even amusement at the audacity of the comment. But then things took a sharp turn when Mark Carney, who is known for his measured tone and calm intellect, decided to respond. And trust me, when someone like Carney speaks, people listen, because this is a man who has led both the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, advised on global financial matters, and has a reputation for being one of the most thoughtful economic leaders of his generation. So when Carney addressed Leavitt's insult, he didn't shout, he didn't throw personal attacks, and he didn't stoop to the same level. Instead, he delivered a powerful, composed, and cutting response that left people nodding in agreement, sharing his words widely, and praising him for standing up for Canadians without losing his cool. And here's the thing, his response wasn't just about defending Canada's honor. It was about reminding everyone that leadership requires respect, diplomacy, and awareness of how interconnected our world truly is. Because Canada and the United States aren't just neighbors, they're partners in trade, allies in global conflicts, and countries whose people share families, friendships, and histories. And insulting one side only weakens the bond that has been built over centuries. So Carney emphasized that strength is not found in tearing others down, but in collaboration, mutual respect, and resilience. And this resonated not only with Canadians but with Americans who saw the bigger picture and realized that these types of comments don't just rile up emotions, they can have real-world consequences. And what's fascinating is how this exchange highlights the contrast in styles. Leavitt's quick, brash, headline-grabbing rhetoric versus Carney's thoughtful, steady, and professional pushback, which raises an important question about the kind of communication people actually want from their leaders in 2025. Do we want fiery soundbites that score points in the moment but burn bridges? Or do we want measured voices that might not trend as fast but carry long-term weight? And that's where this story becomes bigger than just Canada versus Karoline Leavitt. Because it's really about the kind of discourse we're encouraging in politics and the impact that has on everyday people. For instance, when Leavitt's words went viral, average Canadians, not politicians, not pundits, felt like their identity was being mocked. And when Carney responded, it gave them a sense of validation, a reminder that someone was willing to push back with dignity and intelligence, and that matters in today's climate, where respect often feels like a scarce commodity. So as we look at the fallout, it's worth noting how media outlets covered it. Some framed it as another culture clash, others as an example of generational differences in political communication, and still others as a warning sign that the art of respectful dialogue is being lost. And if you think about it, the timing of all this couldn't be more significant, because with elections looming in the US and Canada navigating its own political challenges, the relationship between these two countries is under a microscope. And every word, every gesture, and every headline contributes to the narrative. So the fact that Carney's response went viral shows people are craving leaders who don't just clap back for the sake of it but use their platform to elevate the conversation. And I think that's why this story stuck, because at its core, it wasn't just about defending Canadians. It was about showing the world what real leadership looks like. Now, if you're wondering exactly how Carney phrased it, he didn't waste time throwing labels or insults. Instead, he highlighted Canada's global contributions, its role in supporting allies, its economic stability, and the resilience of its people, framing the insult as not only inaccurate but completely detached from reality. And he did so in a way that didn't sound preachy but persuasive, drawing on facts, values, and a tone that suggested confidence rather than defensiveness. Which is such an important distinction, because defensiveness often fuels more conflict, while confidence diffuses it, and the result was a response that felt bigger than just a clapback. It felt like a lesson in diplomacy, one that many leaders today could learn from. And here's where things get even more interesting, because the online reaction to Carney's words was overwhelmingly positive, with people calling him a class act, a true statesman, and even joking that he should consider stepping fully into politics because of how effective he was at handling the situation. And this opens up a broader conversation. When leaders like Carney, who usually stay behind the scenes, step into the spotlight and remind people of the power of respectful communication, it makes us think about the kind of voices we're elevating. And maybe, just maybe, it shows that audiences are tired of insults, tired of division, and ready for conversations rooted in substance instead of spectacle. But of course, not everyone saw it that way, because there were some supporters of Leavitt who doubled down, arguing that she was just telling it like it is and that Canada should toughen up. And that's where you see how polarized reactions can be, because while one side praises diplomacy, the other glorifies bluntness, leaving us in this tension of what kind of discourse is valued. And if you zoom out, this isn't just about Canada and the US. It's about the global political climate where leaders are constantly balancing between saying what grabs attention versus what actually strengthens relationships. And in this case, it seems clear which approach resonated more widely, because Carney's words traveled just as fast as Leavitt's original insult. But instead of sparking outrage, they inspired respect. And that's a huge takeaway. Words have power, but the tone, intent, and respect behind them determine whether they burn bridges or build them. So as we wrap this up, the saga of Karoline Leavitt's insult and Mark Carney's response isn't just a one-off political spat. It's a snapshot of the bigger cultural conversation happening right now about leadership, respect, and the weight of words. And maybe it's a reminder to all of us that in a world where social media amplifies every statement, choosing words carefully isn't just wise, it's essential. Because, as Carney demonstrated, you don't need to yell to be heard, and you don't need to insult to make an impact. You just need clarity, respect, and the willingness to stand for something bigger than yourself. And that's why his response will be remembered long after the initial insult fades. So now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Carney's calm approach was the right way to handle this, or do you believe Leavitt's blunt honesty, even if offensive, reflects the kind of raw authenticity some people crave in politics? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. Let's start a real conversation about this. And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into the moments that are shaping global politics and culture, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you never miss an update. Because the conversation doesn't end here, it's just getting started.